Hey all, welcome back. Here in this section, we're going to discuss regarding the configuration of Palo Alto Global Protect, which is the remote access VPN solution. So as discussed earlier, so this Windows client sitting on the outside network, this is going to act as my remote user who's sitting on this IP address of 123.1188/24. PFW1 is going to act as my gateway between which my SSL VPN will be established, and once it is established, then I will be writing the policy to allow the access for this particular subnet. So basically I will have an open policy which says allow anything to anything, but in case you do it, you will have you need to write down a policy specifically that for those VPN zone to which subnet is allowed. All right, so let's go ahead and do those respective steps. The first thing, I have got a guided way of implementing it, so I will show you those particular respective steps here. Okay, so I was like kind of building it for all of you just to take out some time. Here we go. So first step is in the remote access VPN solution is create 3 zones, that is inside, outside the VPN zone, and assign the respective interface in the zones and configure the IP address. So that means that on this particular PA firewall I should have 3 zones, which is inside or the trust zone, the outside zone, and the VPN zone for the remote access VPN, right? So I should have the 3 zones created. So let's go ahead and verify that. So let's log in to my PFW1. Just give it a sec. Here we go. So let's go to network. Then we can select the zones, and we have trust untrust, that is say inside or outside, but we don't have the VPN zone, so we can add up a VPN zone here. So it's a VPN zone, define the type as layer 3 zone, and rest all things can be kept at default. I click on OK. So my 3 zones are created, right? And make sure that the respective interfaces should be belonging to the respective zones. So and assign the respective interface in the zones and configure the IP address. So first I should ensure that my ETH1/1 and ETH1/2 should belong to the trust and the untrust zone respectively, and the IP address should be 10.1.1.2.0.1 and 123.1.1.2.0.1. So if I go to network, if I go to interfaces, click on Ethernet, I have ETH1/1 which belongs to the trust, ETH1/2 that belongs to untrust, and the respective IPs are configured. They are on the active state, and we have configured a management profile to allow pings as well. Okay, so looks good. The only thing is I need to define a tunnel interface over here. The tunnel interface should be assigned to the VPN zone. I think that is not done yet, right? So we'll be doing it. So let's wait for it. Configure a generic allow all security policy to allow traffic from any to any zones. Okay, so that's my next job. So I need to go and configure an allow all security policy. So under policies tab, under security, so you have got internet access, right? Let's say I just write down allow all kind of a policy. So let's say allow all, just for lab purpose. So from trust, source can be any zones to any zone, any IP, any destination. All right, any application, any service action is allowed. So I just write a basic an allow policy, and I can move that to the top of the list. Okay, yep, here we go. So my second criteria is also successfully done. We need to have a source NAT policy to allow the inside users to reach the internet via NAT, which should happen via the outside interface. So I think that is happening by default. So if you look for the policy and the NAT policy, so you have an internet access NAT over here, so I think that is disabled, so go ahead and enable that. So it says and I have a DNet policy which I disable for time being over here. Okay, so it says I've got internet access NAT policy from trust to untrust. Okay, when the traffic goes from trust to untrust, ensure that the destination interface is E1/2 and the source address is 10.1.1.0 dynamic IP and port, and on the outside IP I have got this policy running, which is good. Alright, so my NAT is also in place. Next is I need to have a default route on PFW1 via the edge router to reach anywhere in the world of internet. So make sure that PFW1 must have a default route. So if I go to PFW1, I go to network, I go to the virtual routers, I select that default virtual router. If I look for static routes over here, I do have a default route which is pointed towards my edge gateway, right? So I do have the default route which is also in place. Now I need to configure a tunnel interface and allocate it to the VPN zone and ensure that no IP address configuration is required here in the tunnel interface. Okay, so it just has to be part of that particular VPN zone. To create that, I go to network, click on interfaces, select tunnel, and define a tunnel interface over here. Say tunnel, let us say 11 something, tunnel 11, and this is say RA tunnel, remote access tunnel. Virtual router, keep it to the default virtual router which I have with other interfaces as well, and security zone is the VPN zone. IPv4 is not required. I can just add up a ping profile if it is required, that's okay, but normally in production you should not do that, right? So make sure you should not link or attach any sort of a ping profile to your VPN tunnels, but for labbing, I'm just for testing purpose, I'm curious, that's the reason I'm doing it. But again, beg me pardon, I mean if this is also not required because I'm not holding any IP there, so ping will be not be required over here. So yeah, I'm not defining any management profile here as well, but inside to side VPN you might do that for the lab purpose. Okay, all right, so my tunnel interface is made up and it is part of the VPN zone. Okay, so next step, make sure I go ahead and create the local users as the VPN users who will try to authenticate, and I will go here as the local database authentication, and here's the step given. So I must go to the device, local user database, then users, and I should create the usernames, right? So for authentication I should create those particular users, right? Okay, so PFW1, I go to device, I go to, you can see here just at the bottom you have got local user database. Okay, under that you have got users, select that, and you've got some users over here, right? So let's create some VPN users. So I add some VPN users, say it is ZBN hyphen VPN1 as the username, and password, I define a password here. Also I re-verify that password here. Okay, and I enable that user. The name is ZBN VPN1 as the remote user. Okay, likewise I can create other user just for testing purpose, say it's ZBN VPN2, and define the password for that user as well. Just a second. Alright, I enable that user too as well, so my local user it's created. But in real time, as I've told you, you will be going with those third-party IDP authentication using either Radius or TACACS, might be using LDAP or Kerberos, etc. Right, you can do those as well. Alright, so going back to the next step, next is step number 6 is done. So step 7 is creating authentication profile. Okay, so I need to go to this particular place, that was device authentication profile, and add. So let me go and create authentication profile. So on PFW1 device, over here you should go ahead and create this one called as the authentication profile right here. select authentication profile. Okay, and I go ahead and define my own authentication profile. So this is my GP remote access RA VPN, I can say auth profile, something like that. Okay, so the type I define here as local database and nothing else. In the advanced section and the allow list, and the factors you can define for multi-factor authentication. If you want to attach your any MFA devices or components, you can do it over here, but I'm just skipping that. In the advanced in the allow list, you can add up those VPN users, okay, who are part of that particular policy, right? Okay, so I'm adding those VPN users itself. Okay, here we go. That's it. So there's some issue with those, so let's delete that. And if I click on add, let's say all, okay, it works. And if I delete this delete option, and if I click on add and select both the users, okay, now it's fine. So I've got here VPN1 VPN2 users added in my authentication profile. Okay, so next job is to create my SSL certificate. So I should go to the device section, certificate management, certificate, and generate a self-signed SSL certificate for the device. Okay, so I have to go to my device tab over here, and right below I have certificate management. Right below that you have got certificates. When you click on this, you can create one or generate one self-signed certificate. So this is a GP for RA VPN cert. Okay, common name, you can give your outside interface IP as the common name. So in my case it is 123.1.1.201. This is signed via this is going to be the self-signed certificate, so I'm going to act as a self-signed CA for this. Okay, you can define some sort of cert attributes if you want. Let's say country, you might define that, let us say it is India as IN, and define your attributes over here as well. Click on generate, and next, once it is generated, so you need to go to that particular certificate again, click on that certificate name, and ensure that you enable this trusted root CA, right? So ensure that this certificate is, or this CA is trusted. Alright, so this particular step is also taken care. Here we go. So I click on the cert name, enable trusted root CA option, click OK, all those things are done. And next job is to create an SSL/TLS service profile. Okay, so I need to go to SSL/TLS service profile, add that, click on this add, and I should give the name, select the certificate, and click on OK. So right here in this particular device tab, you have got this under certificate management, right here SSL/TLS service profile. Just select that and just click on add, and just name this is my GP RA VPN SSL profile. Okay, and call the certificate which you have generated last. So this GPRA VPN cert, I'm calling it over here. You can define the minimum TLS and the maximum TLS version that should be supported. So I say TLS v1.0 as a minimum, and maximum is say 1.3, and you can define what are the TLS version that you are going to allow here. Okay, rest everything you can keep it default for time being. Yeah, so your SSL TLS service profile has also been generated. All right, okay, so your SSL TLS profile has been created. The next step is basically this. So I need to go and create your global protect configuration. So the next step is to go ahead and work with the Global Protect portal configuration itself, right? So this is the path. So you should go to the Network tab, then the Global Protect. Under that you have got portal configuration. You should fill up the general authentication and the agent tab information. Okay, so I will be doing the lecture, and you can watch it and do that with me. So here we go. Click on Network, click on this. Under Global Protect you have got the couple of configuration that you should do. One is the Global Protect portal configuration and the Global Protect gateway configuration. Okay, so first is the portal configuration. Let's add over here, and we will go ahead and fill up the information for general tab, the authentication tab that is highlighted in red, which is important, the mandatory ones, and also should fill up the agent tab information. Okay, those are the required ones. So under general tab you can just give GPRA VPN config. Okay, network setting, interface is your Ethernet 1/2, which is the outside interface that is as part of the IP address is the outside interface IP, which will act as the the portal or as the portal interface. The portal login page, you can keep it as factory default, or might be if you have some sort of custom page that you can upload, you can do it over here. If you want to forward the logs of that SSL handshakes, you can configure log forwarding if you want. That's it under the general that you have, right? So nothing else over here. Looks good to me. Under the authentication tab you can call the SSL TLS service profile which you have created, and the certificate profile, you can create the client authentication configuration over here. So just click on this add button and create the client authentication configuration. So how do you want the client to be authenticated, right? The various fields. So click on add and say this is GPRA VPN client auth config OS type. So you want the clients to for remote access VPN should appear with what OS, right? You can select that device OS posture. I am select here any, and likewise I'm selecting the authentication profile which I have created earlier for the client. Okay, yeah, so the default Global Protect app login screen, it will be prompted for the username, the password, enter login credentials. So this is the message what the user will be getting, but if you want you can add some over here. Login credentials, welcome to abc.com, might be your company name, right? Yeah, okay, so okay, all right, so it allows authentication with user credentials or client certificate. So yeah, it should be set as it is AND. I'm setting it as OR. Okay, so there is two boolean operation over here. It says that yes, user credential or client certificate is required for authentication, right? Any one of them will be required for authentication. So I should select that and click on OK here. Before I select OK, I should go and configure the agent configuration. Okay, so in agent configuration, let's click on this add button and configure those respective settings. So it is Global Protect RAVPN agent config. All right, that's the name I'm giving over here. The user device could be of any OS. I'm not adding any custom checks or device checks. My internal is, I'm hosting the connection from external, so I can define the external gateway over here. So I can just click on add, and this is your GPRA VPN external gateway. over here, and I can define with an IP address, and my external gateway is running on 123.1.1.201. and I can say I can add up any region, right? And also I can add this button or enable this manual selection, so the user can select manually from various portal or from various gateway when they find any option. Alright, so I've added this next everything, the welcome page, or if you want to have any uninstall passwords and everything, you can configure here. HAB data collection, you can go ahead and configure here. Alright, so it looks good to me. Okay, so click on OK there. So my agent is configured, and last but not the least, over here in this trusted root CA, I can add my GA RAVPN certificate, and I install it in the local root certificate store. Alright, so click on OK there. So my configuration for the Global Protect portal configuration is done over here. Okay, so next I should go ahead and perform the gateway configuration. So next job is to go ahead and create the Global Protect gateway configuration. So we'll fill up the respective fields. So I've done the Global Protect portal configuration. Now click on this Global Protect gateway option over here, and it is very similar to the portal config, just you need to fill up the respective tabs. So general, so it is Global Protect RAVPN gateway config. I define the interface, which is my outside interface, IP address, which is 123.1.1.201. That's all. Under authentication, you have to call the SSL/TLS profile which you have made earlier. The client authentication, click on add and define this is my GPRAVPN client auth config. Okay, OS could be any. The authentication profile which you have created earlier for the GPRAVPN authentication profile, I'm calling here. Alright, you can define this, the user credential or the client certificate is required for authentication, and select OK. Alright, and in the agent config, under tunnel setting, enable tunnel mode. So this is required over here, and define the tunnel interface which you have created earlier, tunnel.11. Alright, yep, so that's it. You have to define the client settings. In the client settings, click on add. Just define here GPRAVPN client settings. Okay, so I'm selecting any here. Okay, just and you can define authentication override. If anything, IP pools you can define, which IP subnet will be allocated. So once this user, the remote user, get access to the gateway, right, once it is authenticated, then the gateway will allocate one IP address to that particular remote user, and you can define a range for that. So let's say I'm defining here the range as 100.100.100.1 all the way to 100.100.100.20. okay, so from this range any IP will be given to the user. You can define split tunnel. That means which traffic will be included for the remote access VPN. So whenever this user is willing to access the corp network, which is 10.110/24 subnet, only to access this subnet the traffic should go over the remote access VPN session. But if the user is trying to access anywhere in the world of internet, the traffic should reach to the gateway and direct, not via the remote access VPN tunnel. Okay, so it's very simple. So define here in the split tunnel, you can define add here, you can define that, and with an object also might be you can define the subnet. Okay, network services, you can define the DNS server as well. So let us say it is 8888 as a DNS server. Alright, so all those respective configurations are done. Click on OK. Client IP pool. Okay, let's define here, which is 100.100.1 all the way to 20. Network services, I can define here primary DNS, secondary DNS. Alright, that's fine. Connection settings looks good. Alright, so rest of the things looks good, so click on OK here. Okay, so I'm getting an error notification over here. Just a second. Right, so click on close here. Let's look for the tunnel settings. Under the client settings, I have configured this. All right, so under this my IP pools was defined, split tunnel was defined, looks good. Okay, click on OK. Over here under client pool, this is not required. Okay, so I have did it twice. All right, so rest everything looks fine. Click on OK here, and then I can go ahead and before that I need to ensure that my device has got this global protect agent, right? So under the dynamic updates, you can see the global protect client over here. Okay, so you need to do that. So you need to install the global protect client software. You should download and install on the Palo Alto firewall, because once this remote user it is willing to connect to that particular PA firewall, the first thing first, it should go ahead and download that particular global protect agent inside this particular device, right, and install it. So we should ensure that this particular global protect software agent it's available on the firewall. Okay, so that is an important thing. So ensure that if I go to PA firewall, the latest version 6.3.2, I just say download. Okay, so let this particular global protect version gets downloaded. Now I just rebooted the particular firewall, and once I restarted this particular firewall, right, I've logged it inside, and once I logged in inside, I checked that the users created, and I have the certificate created. And also if you look into the network tab, and if you look into the global protect configurations, you've got the global protect, the portal configurations created, and you have called the auth profile and the TLS or SSL profile over here. You've done the gateway configuration as well, right? You have called tunnel interface over here. Looks good, right? So if you look into the zones, so you've got the 3 zones created. The VPN zone is also created, and basically in the VPN zone, ensure that the user ID should be enabled here. So if you are looking at the VPN zone, this option needs to be enabled, so make sure that you click on this checkbox called as enable user identification and click on OK. Alright, so my certificate, my users, local users in the local user DBs are created. The global protect portal and the gateway configuration has been created. The zones has been created. If you look for the policies, the NAT policy is there for internet access from the trust zone to the untrust zone using dynamic IP and port method. And we have got a security policy which is allow all from any zone to any zone with any application, right? So it looks good. So now what you should do is, you are pretending this is the remote user. So I've got a Windows 10 client over here. So this Windows 10 client, initially it will go and get access or access this particular edge device, right? It will actually browse to this edge device and download the global protect client software, because it's a client based VPN or remote access VPN solution. So once this user goes and access to this particular outside interface IP, it will go ahead and get the option to download the global protect application and install it over here. And from the application we will go and connect to the portal gateway and form this remote access VPN session. Once the session has been established using SSL, then this user will be getting an IP address from the pool which you have defined here. So you've got a IP address pool that is defined in the 100.series range. So that IP address will be allocated to this particular user, and as per the policies, this user will be able to communicate to this 10.1.1.0/24 IP addresses, assuming that this user is part of this particular subnet. Once the remote access VPN session has been established, and let's say it can go and ping to this particular router IP. Okay, so yeah, we'll verify that all those things. So basically we will go and check if the user is able to access the outside IP of the firewall and able to download this Global Protect client application. So let's log into this user. So I have Windows 10 client over here, and first thing first, I'll be using Mozilla, and before that let's look into the IP address config. So I just gave an IP address earlier as 123.1.1.88 to this particular device. So let's look for that IP address. Just give it a second. Okay, so in the command prompt you can type the command as ipconfig, and you can see the IP is set up as 123.1.1.88, the mask of /24, and the default gateway is set to 123.1.1.1. That means it can go ahead and talk to the default gateway. So ping is working to the default gateway, and also it can reach to the internet through the default gateway through this edge router, and also it can reach to the FQDNs. So I'm just testing the DNS over here. Yep, so my DNS is also working fine. Yeah, so also it can reach the outside IP of the Palo Alto Firewall 1, which is 123.1.1.201. And since we allowed in the management profile the ICMP on the Palo Alto Firewall outside interface, so this ping will be allowed, and I can see the pings are working fine here. So yep, all good with the pings and testing. So now we can, first thing first is on this Windows client, we can go ahead and stay https colon / with 123.1.1.201. I'm accessing the IP address of the firewall, the outside interface IP of the firewall, and I get this Global Protect portal page as per our Global Protect portal page configuration. And now we'll be logging in to this particular portal using the users that we have created. So if you remember, you have got in the PAVM, if you look into the device, and if you look into the users under the local users database, so you've got these users as ZBN-VPN1 and VPN2 with the passwords created. So they are all enabled. So we'll log in using these users for the local authentication. All right, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and access using this ZBN-VPN1 user, let's say, and log in using the password which we have set up for these users. I don't save the password in the cache for time being, and you get the option of downloading this Global Protect. So I will be downloading this Windows 64-bit Global Protect agent. So when you click on that, right, your download will happen. Okay, so let's wait for the download to get completed, and I will be right back and showing you the installation step. Okay, so you can see my download has been completed, which is this Global Protect 64.msi has been downloaded. So now you can actually double click on that and you can install it. All right, so ensure that before you install it, ensure that it got downloaded, because in the Palo Alto firewall, if you look into the device and if you look into the Global Protect client on the left side, you have to have this downloaded and installed or activated in the local database of the Palo Alto firewall itself. So what I did is I went to this version, the latest version as of today is 6.33, and I downloaded this particular version, right? So you have got a link, just click here, adds download, right? And once you click on this, for example, when you click on this download link, it will automatically download this for you. Okay, I'm just canceling it for time being. All right, and once it is downloaded, then you need to click on this activate. It shows us reactivate over here. Just click on this activate if it is not activated. All right, so click on activate and it will be currently activated. Okay, so I have used that, and now you can actually go ahead and plan for it. So you can go ahead and access this outside IP from the client VM, and you can download this particular Global Protect client, so which I have done this, and you can see I'm going to install this in my remote user PC. So click on run and let it do the respective job for installation. Click on next. Just follow this wizard. This is the path where its files will be saved. Click on next to that. Let the installation gets completed. Let's wait for it. Okay, so now it says this Global Protect application has been successfully installed. I can click close to exit. Yeah, that's all. So I can just close this downloads folder, and now I can see this Global Protect agent is right in the bottom tray, or I can use this icon, and also I can find this agent over here. So I can just right click on this particular agent icon, and I can click on this. I get the welcome page, and I can click on this get started. All right, and then I will be entering the portal IP address, the gateway portal IP address, because I've chosen manually to enter that. So my gateway portal IP address, as we know, it is 123.1.1.201, and click on connect. So let's wait, and it says that this is certificate issue. Okay, that's fine. We can press it anyway. Click on press it anyway, and the SSL VPN session will be established, and it asks for this login credentials. So I'll be verifying using this ZBN user. Okay, let's define with the password over here. Oops, 1 second. The password over here, and click on connect. So it retrieves the Global Protect portal configuration, right, and it will connect to the gateway which you have configured. If there are multiple gateways, it will try to connect to the best gateway based on your geolocation. So let's wait for the SSL VPN to complete. And it is done. Right, so it is. So you can see you can manually choose any different gateway if it is available, but as of your configuration, this is the gateway that we have configured, right? All right, so over here you can click on this 3 hamburger lines or icon, and you can refresh connection. You can disconnect from here, or you can click on the settings. So when you click on settings, you can see some wide array of information here. So you can see that this is the gateway IP address to which you have connected, how many days left for the login lifetime, and you can see what is the status over here. It says connected to this gateway FQDN, and this is the tunnel statistics, right? So you can see that this user has received an IP address from that client IP pool which you have configured, and this is the gateway IP address, right? And the packets are in movement, session uptime, and the protocol is used for encryption, and encapsulation is IPsec, right? So this is under this connections tab info. Likewise, if you click on troubleshooting info, you can the debug the level logs, or you can dump the level logs. You can collect the logs from here and parse it to any other syslog servers. Click on notifications, so you can see notifications let you know what is happening on the Global Protect app. including changes in the things like what gateway you're connected to, what type of VPN connections you have, or actions you need to take, such as changing your password or applying an OS patch or virus update, etc. Right? So notifications helps you do that. HIP, that is host information profile, so it's kind of a device posture check with this particular client is doing for you. So this client is running in this particular device where it will capture the host information profile in a report, right? And you can see what are the different parameters it is capturing. So the host info, and that the OS, the host name, for network interfaces, the various network adapters, which is capturing anti-malware, disk backup, disk encryption, firewall information, patch management, data loss prevention, and the certificate info, right? So it clearly says that the host information profile provides global protect with information about your system for monitoring and security enforcement. If you make an update to your systems, just patching your OS or updating your virus definitions, you may need to resubmit the profile to the gateway to get access to restricted resources. So it's kind of a device posture profile that it checks for the endpoint and submits that particular information to the gateway that it is connected to. Likewise, click on this about to check for the latest updates, see the current the app version that you have installed. All right, this is the user, and you can also sign out from here, right, if you want. Okay, so I think it's clear, pretty clear with this application page. Now if you look into the command prompt over here, if you click on ipconfig, you can see that you have got a couple of adapters now. The Ethernet 1 adapter, which was having the IP address on the public segment, and this is the second adapter which got created because of the tunnel interface, right? And if you look for let's say the run prompt, and from I want to go to the network adapter, right? So let's say I just hit ncpa.cpo command in the run prompt, and I can check that I have got this global protect based virtual Ethernet adapter that has been given here to me, right, whose IP address is right here as 100.100.2, right? And I virtually feel myself that okay, I have been tunneled to this firewall, and my user is placed inside this or in that particular inside zone network. So likewise, if you do a route print here to check the routing table of this particular user after having this IP address assigned to it on its tunnel adapter, so you can see that it has got a default route which is pointed to the gateway, because I'm using a split tunnel configuration. So for any internet resources, I'll be using this exit or the edge router to access my internet resources, and you can see that to access 10.1.1.0 subnet, or to access my 100.0 subnet, my interface is the pan GP interface, right? Likewise, to access any multicast resource or might be a broadcast resource, also my pan GP interface is also listed here. The IP is listed here. Okay, so that means basically, if I want to reach 10.1.1.0 IP addresses, my interface which will be used is that pan GP interface. All right, so virtually I feel like I'm placed here in that particular inside zone, and I can go and access my 10.1.1.0/24 resources. So if I want to ping, let's say, this router IP, which is 10.1.1.25, as you can see here, so ping 10.1.1.25, that should work, right? It should definitely work. So just give it a try, and it is working like a champ, right? The first one because of the ARP resolution time that takes place, and once it is there, then it's working. And likewise, if you want to reach to internet, ping 8888, it should go through the edge router. I've configured split tunnel, but it should work. Okay, we'll do some troubleshooting if it is not. Okay, so if I want to reach www.google.com, Okay, I'll check it out. Maybe there's a DNS resolution issue over here. uh, all right, so the point is, this access has been granted and you are able to access this particular inside resource. This is one thing. Yeah, now you can check into the logs as well. So if you go to the PAVM and if you look for the monitor tab of this particular Palo Alto firewall, and you can look onto this, let us say under the logs, if you look into the user ID log, for example, and you can see which users has access and what is the IP address through which this user have come up, right, and what IP address it got into its tunnel interface, and you can see the data source, you can see the source type, yep. Likewise, if you look into this global protect logs, right, so you can check this, the various global protect logs, the various times the portal gateway which is logging its information, what is the status, what is the event that has happened throughout, which is the user because of which the event has happened, and the source region from where the user is coming is shown as Japan. What is the user host name, public IP address of that user, if any v6 IP is configured over here, what's the host ID, what is the authentication method used, etc. Likewise, if you look for the traffic logs, also you can check here that the traffic logs that has been taken place, right? So it's allowed in the DNS base. So this is the user is trying to go to 8888. It is allowed in the DNS base. All these things are working fine. All right, so you can see that logs over here respective to these users as well. All right, so I hope these points are clear, make sense to all of you. You can practice the same, and yeah, so anytime you want to disconnect from this particular global protect, so right from this particular client VM, you can just click on this global protect and you can click on this hamburger line and click on disconnect, and it will be disconnecting of your VPN session. All right, yeah, with that in mind, I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you for watching. Please practice the same.